What's up, my peeps? It's the turtle smashing, dragon punching, titan smashing, zombie blasting, race car drifting, multiplayer butt whipping, the collector of coins, rings, looms, rupees, and tanukis. I got food for self, emeralds for wealth, and med packs for health. I got the double jumps, turbo boost, time freezes, and invincibility. Leveled up all of my abilities. I run Vice City and made the Mushroom Kingdom better. And I am the first human Spectre. This is Mastermind, and welcome back. Today we're going to talk about What's up, peeps? Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about E3 Day 1. Actually, technically it was Day 2, but Day 1 really only had Bethesda's, so I'm just going to clump that all and just say it's Day 1. And I got to tell you, there were a lot of games. Now, we can get into who had the best conference, but I'm going to say every single conference was great. Microsoft came out the gate pretty good. I was a little disappointed because there was some games missing from that I wanted to see. I think Sony did phenomenal at the end. I was not expecting Sony to come out the way they did. They did slow down a little bit when they started talking about, you know, the TV channels and stuff, which I find it kind of ironic that they've done this the last 2 years, and the 1 year Microsoft did it, they were totally slammed for doing so. But, you know, it is what it is. But overall, if I had to pick a winner or a slight winner, I would say Sony probably edged out Microsoft. And then, of course, I think Bethesda actually presented the show better than everybody because they focused really on nothing but gameplay. And I think it was an overall a great day. So I'm wondering if today is going to even come close to living up to that. It's not as many conferences, but still there's going to be a lot of good games showing. So we'll see. But let me get to some of the games and just my quick thoughts on each game, because it's staggering when you really think about all the different games. And I'm sure I'm going to miss a few. But let's start off with Star Wars Battlefront. I'm kind of blown away by that. Initially, when I first saw the video a month ago or 2 months ago, whenever they released it, I wasn't too sure if that was real. But then in this conference, they said it was running on a PS4, which kind of blows me away because we've had a trend lately in this generation where they show off a game and it doesn't quite look the same once it's released or being close to release. We've had issues with The Witcher. We had issues with Watch Dogs. We are now looking at The Division. The Division doesn't quite look as crisp and as beautiful as it did when they first showed it off. So we've had this. So I was a little skeptical going into this demo with the Star Wars Battlefront, but they said it's running on PS4, and it just looks amazing. Anyone who grew up in the 70s and 80s with Star Wars, you have to be super excited, even if you weren't a big Star Wars fan. It's really translating that world into the video game engine, the Frostbite engine, the way they've translated just that whole world. It's perfect. It's almost perfect. I'm really excited for it. I hope the gameplay and the online turns out to be worthy of the way the game looks. Fallout 4, what more can I say? Fallout 4 was huge. Everybody seemed to really dig what they were doing. I know there was some criticisms about the graphics, but when you look at the open world and you look at everything that they're implementing into it, it really looks cool. It really looks awesome. And actually, the environmental artistry and the graphics behind it were quite impressive when they showed the entire demo and not just the trailer. So that was really good. Call of Duty Black Ops 3, well, it's now on the Sony side as far as getting the maps and extra content first. It really isn't a big deal. I don't really buy the maps that much anymore, the extra maps. In this last Call of Duty, I bought the first, I think, map pack that they put out, and then I ignored the rest. And I didn't even buy that as soon as it came out. But I know for some hardcore Call of Duty fans, that's a big deal. It's a good incentive to buy it on a PS4 as opposed to the Xbox One. I just wish they would stop this. You know, we're going to give you this first, and then you guys have to wait. Just release it all at the same time. That's my opinion on it. But, you know, it is what it is. But I don't know. The single player didn't really look that impressive to me. But then when they showed the multiplayer, I was a little bit impressed. I kind of think they're copying a little bit too much of copying Titanfall a little bit too much with the wall run. It kind of reminded me a lot of Titanfall, but hey, The Division wasn't impressing me quite as much as it did before, as far as graphically is concerned, and as far as the gameplay that they showed, it didn't really change too much for me. As far as, it didn't really give me anything new that I was blown away by. I'm kind of a little bit, I guess, fatigued with a lot of the military shooters and that kind of stuff and that, but it still looks very beautiful, and it still seems like a really interesting game, and I'm still really excited about it. So we'll see what comes of it in the next few months. Unraveled. Oh man, I was not expecting this game from EA. When the guy came up, I was like, okay, this is guy. He clearly doesn't speak well in public, and his hands were shaking, and he seemed a little just terrified, actually. And I don't blame him. I guess if this is the biggest stage of your career, and you're presenting your first real, game in front of a whole bunch of people, thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions watching around the world. So I don't blame the guy for being so nervous. But I wasn't expecting much. And then when they showed that demo and showed the game running, the concept, the graphics, just everything, I am super excited over it. It was one of my favorite games of the show. So if you haven't seen the trailer for Unraveled, definitely check it out. I'm probably going to post that one because it was one of my favorite ones of the show. I already kind of went over what I thought of Doom, so I'm not going to focus too much on that in this video, but all I'm going to say is I thought Doom looked pretty damn good. Street Fighter V, my channel is, I'd say if I'm covering video games, I'm probably talking more about fighting games than any other genre. Street Fighter V is looking great. Birdie is in the house. That's the character that was on my wish list, and I was really excited to have him on there and for them to, present him. I wish they would have actually shown a full fight with him and Cammy. I thought Cammy looks great. She was this close to being on my wish list, and now I wish I had put her on there, not because they revealed her, but because she looks so awesome in the reveal. So really excited. I guess just about any Street Fighter character that they release right now is going to be pretty awesome. Rainbow Six: The Siege. It's looking impressive. Graphically, it looks better than what they did when they first showed it at last year's E3. The concept is different. It's a definite change from what we're used to seeing on shooters, especially with first-person shooting is concerned. Really excited about that. It's not really my style of game, and one thing that I've run into with those kind of games is that when you go online, you're always going to have people not following the objective, not communicating, trolling. So that's my one fear about that game, is that it may be hard to find people who are doing the right thing, and then it may work in the opposite end. If you're kind of casual or you're not really that good at it, you're probably going to be in there with a bunch of experts that are going to be calling you, a noob or whatever. So that game is probably going to narrow down to just people who know each other for the most part in playing, which there's no problem with that. I think you run into that with Evolve now and a couple of other games, but it's looking good. Final Fantasy VII Remake. Big news, very excited. Anybody who grew up, again, years and years ago, if you're not a modern day gamer, you're going to be really super hyped over this. Final Fantasy VII, for me, was the first Final Fantasy that I really got into. I never really liked the old Nintendo ones, so that's going to be a big deal. Gears 4. I was a little disappointed. I was expecting when they were showing it, I wanted to hear Marcus Phoenix, his voice, and his little dry humor that they seem to put in there with him, with the actor. And there was no Marcus Phoenix. There was no Dom. It was just these two new people, and it looked like just a cleaned up version of Gears of War 1, 2, and 3. It didn't look like there was nothing different to it. It just looked like a cleaner version. Most of the demo was extremely dark. I don't know. I was slightly disappointed. Happy that they're making it. I know it's going to be pretty good, but not really blown away. Forza 6. Man, that game is going to be incredible. It's probably what Forza 5 should have been, but nonetheless, it's one of my top games so far at this E3. Really excited about that. Have nothing else to say about it. Just blown away. South Park: The Fractured Whole. I'm happy that they're bringing it out. Obviously, now it's going to be on the new generation consoles. I would like to have the Stick of Truth come to the new generation as well, but this is going to be cool. This is going to be good. The first one was, got a pretty high reviews. A lot of people loved it, and definitely unique as far as video games are concerned. For Honor, that was another one that I was really surprised at. New IP. How come nobody's ever thought of this before? Like, we had Rise, Son of Rome, which a lot of people didn't like, but how come we've never had that multiplayer style where it's like, you have your people on one side and you have your enemies on the other and you're going to war with swords? And I mean, I'm sure there's been something where I guess fits that description, but this is totally different as far as, it's like a first-person shooter but with swords. So I'm super excited about that. Recore, that was a really interesting demo that they showed on the Microsoft. They didn't show the actual game, but they showed a cinematic trailer, and just to kind of show you the world. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Panzer Dragoon as far as the way the world looked, but with kind of like this robot dog and this like orb that's obviously their life force. Really, really cool looking. Definitely excited about that. Need for Speed, just like Forza, blew me away. I don't know if this is the actual game running. It just looks too good to be true. I can't wait to see more of it. That's all I can really say, but it looked incredible. Halo 5 Guardians, the single player that they showed off was quite impressive. Huge graphic boost from what we were seeing from the multiplayer beta and some of the other footage that we've seen of the game. It's coming along nice, and I'm excited about it. But honestly, I feel like I've been waiting for that game for years and years and years now. I think it's just, I'm a little tired of just looking at new stuff. I just want the game to come out. Trackmania. That was a surprise for me. I thought that was cool. I'm a huge fan of Wipeout and those games, a Wipeout franchise. So, this isn't quite Wipeout, but you have these corkscrews and loops and all this, fast-paced racing, and it just looked like a lot of fun. And after all, that's what gaming is supposed to be, fun. And that game looked like a ton of fun. Cuphead, another one I feel like I've been waiting for forever. It looks great. It looks like a damn cartoon, and I don't even know if it controls well or what the objective of the game really is. They haven't really just shown like one level from beginning to end or even beginning to middle. So I don't really know much about it, but I know from what I've seen, it looks fantastic, and I can't wait to see more. Horizon. That Sony game was like, I wasn't expecting that. I think that was the second game Sony showed off, and I was like, yo, I love games where the protagonist is a female. I don't know why. Even like when I play a lot of games, if they give you the option of a male or a female, I usually choose the female. I just find them more interesting. I did it for Mass Effect, and this game had me pretty hyped up. I wasn't expecting that, and it looked like nothing I've ever seen. So really excited about Horizon. Mass Effect. This is kind of like the biggest hype and the biggest disappointment at the same time, because I was really, really, really hoping for gameplay. It was the first thing that EA showed off, and the trailer was, I mean, it gave me more for sure. And I know the game is a year out, but I just wanted more. But I was so excited. As soon as I, saw them pan out just a little bit, I was like, that's the galaxy map. And then they, did all of this, and they played the music, and that's all I wanted to see. Mostly of Mass Effect was just some kind of confirmation that they're getting to the point where they're ready to show something, but they didn't show enough for me. But still very excited. Mass Effect is my favorite video game franchise of all time, so I can't wait. Dishonored 2. Dishonored 1 was a really good, I think slightly overlooked game. Dishonored 2, really good stuff. I'm glad that they're bringing it out, and especially now it's coming out on Xbox One, PS4, and PC. So that's going to be really great. Mirror's Edge, I loved it. Mirror's Edge, it wasn't just these, white and, with some blue or yellow or red, here and there, even though there's still a lot of that. And I like that art style. I love the city lights and the rain, and really hyped over that. When they first showed the concept of Mirror's Edge, I was initially thinking they weren't going to be able to make it look that good. But after looking at the demo yesterday, I thought it actually looked better than the original concept. So super excited over that. If you haven't seen the trailer for that, definitely check that one out. No Man's Sky, another one. We've been waiting forever and ever. We've been seeing a lot of stuff. When they first started showing it, I was just like, hey, this guy doesn't even look enthused over it. He even complained that there was only 3 minutes that Sony was allowing him to show the game, so I wasn't expecting much. And then what I got, I was like, wow, that looks amazing, and got me excited for the game all over again. Uncharted 4, one of the big games, one of the best-looking games of this E3 2015. As far as graphics are concerned, that Battlefield, the Tomb Raider, the Forza, the Need for Speed, and a couple of other games. Those are going to be hard to really top. I think those are setting the benchmark for best looking games. Uncharted 4 definitely is one of the best looking games that they're showing off at this conference. So really excited about that. That chase scene was just super intense, and the design of the level of the area looked like something just out of like an Indiana Jones film. It was really good. Rise of the Tomb Raider, I feel the same way. Really impressive. Graphics look really good. Very over the top with that. The only issue that I have is some of the parts of the game were very heavily cinematic as far as what they showed. There's one part, if you pay attention, she jumps like off of a cliff and she's holding one ice pick, but then when she lands, she's actually holding two. Not a big deal. I'm sure it's just, part of the cinematic, going from gameplay to cinematic. But I just thought we've seen the whole ice pick on the side of a mountain a million times in video games. So it was nice. It looked phenomenal, but I wish they would have showed more of her actually in the tombs and doing everything. But I like the way they're driving the story, because in the first one, she kind of didn't know what she was getting into. She didn't really discover herself. And now in this one, she's really coming into her own, and I think that's going to be really great. So it's going to be interesting to see who has the advantage. Is it going to be Uncharted or Tomb Raider? That's going to be really interesting to see. Ghost Recon, wasn't expecting to see a Ghost Recon, especially when they first showed that skeleton and everything. It didn't look like a Ghost Recon game. It looked like something totally different. Surprised to see it. It looked awesome. A lot of Ghost Recon fans are going to be blown away by that one, I'm sure. One of the biggest surprises, probably the biggest surprise of E3, was the Shenmue Kickstarter. If, again, Final Fantasy VII and, all this Star Wars, all this retro stuff coming from when I was growing up, Shenmue was, in my opinion, the first legitimate open world discovery kind of game. And it wasn't quite open world like what we see today, but it was just so ahead of its time, and it just really put you in a world that you had never seen or even imagined that video games would ever be able to do. And when Shenmue did it, I was blown away. So to see that they're doing a Kickstarter, in fact, my daughter logged in like maybe an hour after they announced it on the Kickstarter, and they were already up like over $600,000. Their goal was to have 2 million. So I'm sure this is going to eclipse that 2 million probably by today. Who knows? Maybe they've even topped it, by Sunday. Maybe Monday or Tuesday. We should probably know for sure if it eclipsed the 2 million goal that they had. But really excited. Can't wait to see what they do with that, especially with today's modern day technology. My only hope is that they don't create Shenmue 2 with the graphics of back then, because from what they showed, it didn't look like it was anything new, like running on like an Unreal 4 engine or anything like that. So I'm kind of curious to see what direction they take. But either way, it's Shenmue. You can't go wrong. And it was also nice to see Yu Suzuki as well. Some of the other things other than games, I just want to mention the Sony conference with the TV thing, I'm glad that they're doing the a la carte service. But I wish they would have saved that announcement for something else and not put it on E3. I think it kind of hurt their press conference a little bit. Some people are complaining of the technical difficulties that they had in the beginning of Uncharted and felt that that might have hurt the conference. It didn't. It's video games. We have those problems playing video games all the time. I was actually happy that it happened because it told me that they were actually playing the shit, and that was really good. So anybody complaining about that, you're just a nitpicker. Backwards compatibility from the Xbox One. Huge news. I wish it was more than 100 games to start, but still, that's really, really big. Really, really big. Not for me. I don't play the 360 anymore. I'm done with the 360. There are a couple of games that I still have that I might go back to. It would be nice if, maybe you can play Third Strike on the Xbox One or even Ultra Street Fighter 4. That would be really nice. Or Mortal Kombat 9. That would be really cool, but that's because I'm a fighting game fan and because I own those games. But and I still have my 360, but I don't really play it. But in fact, it's in my son's room, so it would be nice if I can just bring it down to the big boy TV and play it there. Some of the games, but it's not a big deal for me. But for a lot of people, it is a big deal. So that was huge news. Their controller, I need that. I need it. But then I looked up, I'm not too sure how accurate this is, but it's supposed to be $150. That's pricey. That's really pricey. I don't know if I'd want to spend $150 on a controller because at the end of the day, it's a controller and they wear out and they break. And if I use it for something competitive like a fighting game or for like a first-person shooter, and I'm playing and I'm putting heavy hours into it, there's a chance that the buttons and everything are going to get worn out, like tends to happen, and that's $150. So I'm not too sure about the price, but the idea and the concept of the controller, the D-pad looks really interesting. I think it would be great for fighting games, so definitely looking forward to that. I hope when it actually comes out, I think in October, it's not as expensive as they said it would be. And one last thing I want to talk about, the HoloLens, the Minecraft. I'm not a big Minecraft person, but when I saw that demo for the HoloLens, just blown away. That is the future of gaming, I think, or part of the future. I don't think there's going to be one definitive future. I think we'll still be playing games on TV and still be playing games on PC and still be playing games on mobile. There's just, I think, what I've said before is that there's no one future of video games. Video games is just expanding in any type of device that we can, electronic device that we can have. So I don't think that this is the sole future of gaming, but I think there is going to be a market for this, and I think it was quite impressive from what they showed. To actually build a world and be able to look into things and put the display on your table, or when they first showed it on your wall or something like that. That's going to be pretty amazing to see what they do with that. A couple of things I was disappointed in. There was a couple of games that they didn't really show. I was, especially on a Microsoft end, they had shown what I guess was a spiritual successor or sequel to Limbo last year. I forgot what the name of the game was, but they didn't show that. I was disappointed. They didn't show Crackdown, which I thought was a big IP from them that they announced last year. They didn't show Scalebound, which was another trailer. It's like they didn't even mention it, really. I was hoping to see a Banjo-Kazooie. No news on that. All the Rare franchises, Conquer, they had that Rare. That was another game that I didn't even have on the list that was really good. That Rare Collection game with like 30 games. That's a big deal, but give us some new ones. I mean, give us something new. Give us something that, if you look at this E3's trend, a lot of the old school stuff that I grew up on, my generation, those are the most popular games. So they would have brought out a Conker's, a Banjo-Kazooie, a Battletoads. We would have ate that shit up. That would have been big news, but for some odd reason, Microsoft seems to disappoint when it comes to anything regarding Rare. It took them forever to give us a Killer Instinct. They had Rare doing, the avatars and stuff, and for the Xbox One. I liked Viva Pinata, and the second one, I was really hoping that they would bring out another one. Another disappointment was from Ubisoft or Ubisoft, however you say it. I was hoping for one of their UB art games like Child of Light, or I really wanted to see a sequel to Rayman Legends, but those are minor nitpicks. I'm sure we'll probably see some of these franchises later on in the future, but I was really hoping to get them at this year. Anyway, that is it for this video. Sorry it's taken a little bit long, but a lot of games to go over. So thanks for watching. Thank you once again for watching. If you enjoyed this video and other videos, please don't forget to click subscribe on the screen and tune in for more videos. Thanks again for watching. Mastermind out.